Welcome to episode 5 of Four Questions with. Today I'm joined by Dr. Jim Bailey, CEO of PES Technologies, an agri-tech company. So, Jim, my first question is, how did you get into the agricultural sector?
So I came to this from the sensing and deep tech side rather than the traditional farming background. Early on, NIAB told me that there simply weren't any good quality, affordable tests for soil health. And that immediately made it clear to me that there was an important issue here that needed to be solved. And the more time I spent around the sector, the more I saw how central soil is to everything farmers are trying to do. You know, being asked to make huge decisions on inputs, soil resilience, looking after the land, but often without the right practical information at the moment. And that's really what pulled me in, the sense that some good science could genuinely help a real world problem for farmers.
No, I couldn't agree more with that because as you said, soil is a key part of the process, and without that, you don't have grass, you don't have crops, you don't have feed for cows, sheep to get everything rocking around. So that is a very interesting way of getting into the sector. So, Jim, my second question is, where do you see the agricultural sector heading in the future?
I think personally, the industry is heading towards a lot more pressure, but with that also comes better decision making. Farmers are dealing with tighter margins, they're dealing with more volatile weather, and a lot more scrutiny from both the policymakers and the supply chain. So, really, where this is heading, the direction of travel has to be towards practicality and resilience. So, farms that do well will be the ones that can make confident decisions and respond quickly to these changing conditions, use their inputs, their time, and their money more effectively. I think from a business perspective, I think that means, better data, better tools. So, at PS Technologies, we make a tool to help you understand soil health better. That's the kind of stuff that's going to be really important. And I think AI is also genuinely going to be, a part of that where it is really useful because you've got examples where people are overloaded with information and don't know how to make really good decisions based on it. But that's where, you know, AI can go through all those academic literature going back, decades, but also this up-to-date stuff that soil scientists are doing right now, and it can help you interpret what to do based on your data.
No, I totally agree with you. I think AI will be an asset for farms because it will help them predict what's going to happen in the future, whether that be yields, soil health, grass health, health of the animals within the farm. And one of the things that I've heard from a couple of people, including Tom Allen Stevens from Boffin, is that innovative farms are going to survive. So if they invest in the correct technology and processes, it will enable them to benefit in the short, medium, and long term. So, my third question is if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
I think the advice to my younger self would be that what matters in the end is whether you're solving a real problem, but in a way that people can really actually trust and use. So the sooner you get closer to that, to a real need and to better decisions, well, you can make something useful. So it's all good having good science. It needs to be also about presenting information clearly, um, showing how that information, affects in real case studies, how it affects your farming, and make it really easy for someone to turn information into a decision, even if, that doesn't mean that, us as a business, for example, that we want to advise people directly, but we need to present information in a way that they can understand and make decisions off of. Otherwise, it's just information overload, right?
No, I totally agree with that. And information is key in whatever line of industry you're in, and especially within the agricultural sector, because you have like the you have SFI, you have Red Tractor. So having information to hand helps you tick boxes for processes and potentially help unwind the red tape that is currently within the sector. Now, my final question is, if you were head of DEFRA, what would be your first order of business?
Probably similar to what a lot of people say. It would be to make farming policy simpler, but genuinely long term. So my first thing to do would be actually to take all these schemes and payments and get them administered through an arm length body. So put it into a body that is, given a 10, 15, 20-year mandate with this pot of money to spend and arm's length so that it's stable and less exposed to political churn from one government to the next. It's all just ring fenced for the long term. And then, farmers are already carrying lots of risk and responsibility, and they need policies that aren't short term. They need to have consistency and confidence, so not moving goalposts and more paperwork.
No, I totally agree with that because as you said, like the SFI is one of the areas that I think needs to be ring fenced because it can change year to year. And I've heard people say that with some grants, they make more money from the grant not farming and just doing the grant work, which then puts the whole supply chain potentially out out of whack. The when you say as a standalone body, do you think it needs to be managed by someone with an agricultural background, or do you think it needs to be someone from a business background? How do you think it should be managed from the top down?
I think it absolutely needs to be managed from people with that agricultural background. I have talked to some people at DEFRA who did not have the agricultural background, and if they're the ones making the policies but not understanding the effect of them naturally, they'd need to be given so much data to be able to do it properly. And then they come up with something and, it just hits reality and falls over. As you said, an example of people getting more money from grants than from farming. If somebody had had the agricultural background to start with, from that all the way bottom up to the top level and down again within DEFRA, then I think that probably wouldn't have happened in the first place.
No, I definitely agree with that, and I do think DEFRA does need a bit of a clear out to help smooth the processes. And I think they should be listening to the likes of the NFUS to get with their policy advisors. But also, I think businesses such as yourself need to have an input as well because yourself and your teams are on the ground and understand what's going on.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we have tried to talk to them and they've said, yes, we really want to know what you're hearing on the ground, what you think's working, what isn't working. And I was very clear in one point. I said, this is something that I've heard farmers actually really like about SFI. That's one point that's very clear. And that's one that they've removed to save money. I mean, they say it's not to save money, but
No, I think that's definitely a good first order of business, and fingers crossed that might potentially happen in the future, but we'll see what happens. So, thank you for joining me, and we will see everyone on the next episode.